And there we go. I believe we are live. That took a little longer than it should have. What is
No,
it? What did I say?
no, you're not.
This is live. Oh, sorry about the goofy entrance there. We had a little technical problems. Actually, my internet has been having issues on and off all day. Our DNS server has been up and down. So let's hope we can get through this without any more technical glitches. What was that?
Nothing.
Okay. So we can go through this. Let's see if we can get through this without any more technical glitches. We wanted to talk about the importance of maintaining our emotional and mental health, and for cultural reasons, not just for our individual reasons. There's cultural reasons each one of us individually are going to want to make sure we maintain our emotional and mental health as best we can. We have all gone through essentially a mass traumatic experience. And this will lead to what some of us are calling a cultural PTSD. And this virus isn't the only thing that can cause a cultural PTSD, but it is the latest and most obvious thing that affects all of us from coast to coast. Nobody gets to escape this, even if no one you know is directly related from the virus itself. No one is escaping the tension or the stress or the economic impact. And so as this develops and we try to work through the recovery and the rebuilding, or whatever euphemism we want to call the next year and a half, as we work our way through all this mess, we are going to have to deal with depression, anxiety, and a lot of people, this is the first time they've had to deal with this in a chronic way. For those of us who have dealt with anxiety issues, say, for your entire life, we are facing one type of struggle. But for someone who's, anxiety has been a normal thing and it comes and goes based upon the situation, and you're now faced in a situation that's extended. It's no longer a week, a month, as you get through a project. This is an open-ended thing that's affecting the whole world. You literally can't go anywhere without being confronted with it. And that will have a long-term dragging effect. It will suck not just our emotional energy, our physical energy, because we have to remember everything our minds process require energy. And so it's the more emotional stress, the more stress we are under, the more physical energy we are going to use. And that's less physical energy we have to go to work, to think about our families, to plan, to do all the various things that we're going to need to do to get through the next year and a half. And so it is very important for all of us individually to maintain our emotional and mental health as best we can, and to look out for those who are closest to us. And yes, there is a role in government for that, but money is going to be very tight. And so it really is up to us individuals to get through this on our own as much as possible. So what few public resources there have can go to those who don't have any other options. If you have a good family safety net, now is the time to use it. Now is not the time to be dependent on government, not because it's the wrong thing to do, it's because there's no money. And what money is left needs to go to those who are genuinely needy, who don't have the family safety nets, who don't have the long-term support, emotional and mental support that those with strong family structures can have. Now, not all families can have financial support, but you can support emotional support. And when I use the term family, I use the expanded term of family. Your best friend may be more of a family than your brother, right? That's how life works sometimes, but that's okay. If that's your family, that's your family. If your family is friends are more your family, then your family safety net is your friends. So let's not confuse, these terms. There's blood family, and then there's emotional family. And we are going to be leaning heavily on our emotional family these next years, and that's a good thing. Because we should be relying on each other more. We should expect more support from those closest to us. We have for too long decided to let somebody else do it, let the government do it. We'll pay more taxes so we don't have to think about it. Well, there's no more money. And so now we are going to have to think about it. And long term, that will be a good thing. So let's move on, and we'll discuss a little bit about another thing in our culture we've been finding distressing. And that is this notion we've had to turn into a tattle-tale society, where you see someone doing something you may not approve of. They're not social distancing properly. They're not wearing a mask. They're not whatever it is, your particular issue is. I think we need to be very careful about being judgmental, because we don't actually know what somebody else is going through. Maybe someone isn't wearing a mask because they have breathing problems and they can't wear a mask. Maybe they have anxiety issues and they would like to wear a mask, but they can't because it will psychologically damage them. Maybe they have multiple personality disorder and putting on a mask will flip a personality. Do you really want to be responsible for that? Is it a high percentage? No. But you don't know which person out there it is. And so we need to be kind to each other. Yes, this virus, this time is dangerous, but there is no single way through it. We all have different risk factors. We all have different risk tolerances. I would never jump out of a plane, with a parachute, yet people do every day. I wouldn't stop them. Now, yes, this is somewhat different, but it's not a surprise that different people and different cultures will have different paths through perceived danger. And let's also not remember that people in different locations, in different areas, urban areas and rural areas are vastly different. And not just in temperament, not just in culture, there's reasons for it. Look, those of us who live in the city, who live in Center City, we are never but feet away from some form of government service. The sewer runs across in our street, right? We've got the street pickup comes once a week. There's always a parking enforcement meter. There's some kind of government within arm's reach, almost always. If you're in a rural area, the closest government might be an hour away. And so, of course, you're going to have a different relationship to what your dangers are and how you face them. And so all of us need to be aware that these cultural differences are going to play out. And in a state as big and as diverse as California, we have to be especially aware and especially empathetic to those who have different needs. And it's very easy for those people in the tech industry sitting in the Bay Area to sit in their homes working on their computers. But if you're a rancher, you can't work from your living room. If you're a farmer, you can't work from your living room. If you're a truck driver, you can't work from a living room. And what if you are a truck driver just driving widgets that aren't essential? You're now unemployed. And so we have to be very careful as we point fingers at people who are afraid or overly concerned in their house. But we also have to be very careful of the people who are out protesting because they want their lives back. They're not greedy. They care about their life the same way that people who want to stay in their homes do. It just manifests differently. And that's okay. That's what diversity is about. And that's what makes California great, is that we have all this diversity in one roof. And what we need to do is start listening to each other again. Because we all have a point. Every one of us has a reason for believing what we believe, for having the perspective we have. And we're not going to change it by yelling at people. And I'm as guilty as anybody. I've been guilty of this. And so I'm staring in the mirror as I'm looking at you. But we all have to be better. And that includes me. So the last thing, we'll move on. Let me take a second here. The last thing we want to talk about is why I discuss concepts and mindset rather than plans? Well, there's a couple reasons for this. One, as a third party member in a legislature dominated by a single political party, my power to actually get my specific plan passed would be impossible. I mean, it's the political realities. Second reason is we have a small team that is stretched thin. And so if we spend a lot of time drafting policy proposals that have essentially no chance of going anywhere, we are not doing our voters a service, because we're not spending that time getting our messaging out and talking about things that we can actually make an impact with. Now, the reason I talk concepts and mindset is because before we can get to policy, before we can start changing things, we have to rethink about how we're doing things. If we keep doing things the same way, we're just going to get the same answers. Just like if we keep electing people who have come up the ranks through the same processes, we're going to get the same type of people. And they're honorable people. This is not a dig at the people who are working. They're honorable people trying to work as hard as they can to improve their communities. I'm not going to dispute that. But they have a perspective. That process creates a single narrow perspective. And we need outside perspectives. We need different perspectives. We need different mindsets. Not because we need to impose those different mindsets or different perspectives, because we need to hear them. So we can balance them, so we can make compromises and choices. And so we're not simply running an ideological script. We are solving problems for people of California. It is not my job to represent the Libertarian Party. It is my job to represent the people of Sacramento and West Sacramento. It's my job to represent voters of California. As vice chair of Sacramento County, it is my job to represent Libertarian voters. But when they decided that it was okay for me to run for public office, they had to accept that my duties now expanded. And I now have to represent a wide variety of people, half of whom completely disagree with us. And so I have to bridge that gap. We have to make sure that people understand that I love and care for them, and that what I want is the same things you do. I just have a different perspective on how to get there. But I'm willing to compromise and work our way towards something that's better than what we currently have. Because incremental change, incremental improvement is the way the world works. On occasion, there's radical changes and radical movements, but in the grand scheme of things, incremental change is what changes the world. And you get that by talking to people, by discussing mindsets, by discussing perspectives, and solving problems. You're not going to get what you want. I'm not going to get what we want. I am not going to get what I want. And you're not always going to get what you want. And no other politician will tell you that. Honestly, anyway. But I will do my best to solve problems. Sometimes it will mean I won't get anything near what I want, but it's what my people need. And so that's what they'll get. Because it's not about ideology. It's no longer about politics. This is about people. It's about people using politics to solve problems created by politicians. I hate the fact that I'm now a politician, but somebody has to do it. And so we're going to leave you here tonight because no one wants to hear us rambling on and start ranting. If you want to do that, there's plenty of ways to hear me rant. So please visit justforassembly.com and click the donate or volunteer button and help us out. We could use whatever help you can manage. I know these are difficult times, but just sharing things on social media is a big help these days. But social media campaigns are actually relatively cheap. $3 a day reaches a couple hundred people. So we could use, 10, 15, $20 is a week's worth of ads. You generally can make an actual difference. Now it's up to us to come up with engaging ads, but we could use your help. So thank you for watching. I hope you and your family is doing well. Please take care of yourselves and your neighbors and those closest to you. And if anybody has any comments or questions, there's the email us at questions@justforassembly.com or any of those addresses down there. There's a form on the website. You can message us on Facebook, just contact us on Twitter. We've got all the social medias now. So please take care of yourselves and good night.